The classroom smelled like fear. Lily Morgan could feel it in the air as the heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. Every student sat frozen at their desks. The teacher, Mr. Brooks, had stopped speaking mid-sentence. His face had gone white as paper. 3 years had passed since the conquered Earth. 3 years of gray skis and gray buildings and gray lives. Humans learned to walk with their heads down. They learned to speak only when spoken to. They learned that survival meant silence. The door opened with a sound like breaking bones. Commander entered first. She was 7 feet tall with blue-gray skin and 4 arms folded across her chest. Her eyes swept across the room like the students were insects beneath her notice. Behind her came 2 soldiers carrying plasma rifles. And then he entered. Warlord Oz had to duck his head to fit through the doorway. He stood 8 feet tall with skin like stone armor. His 4 arms were thick with muscles that could crush a human skull without effort. Scars covered his face and neck, each one a story of battles won against species across the galaxy. He had conquered 12 civilizations. He had never lost. Lily sat in the 3rd row next to the window. Her best friend Danny Cole gripped the edge of his desk so hard his knuckles turned white. She could hear his breathing, fast and shallow like a frightened rabbit. Mr. Brooks bowed so low his forehead nearly touched the floor. "Great Warlord, we are honored by your presence. How may we serve the Empire?" Oz did not answer immediately. He walked between the rows of desks, studying each student with cold, yellow eyes. Some children began to cry quietly. Others stared straight ahead, too terrified to move. "I am conducting an inspection," Oz said. His voice was deep like thunder rolling across mountains. "I wish to understand how humans are educated under our rule." He stopped beside a boy named Peter who sat in the front row. Peter was 12 years old and shaking so hard his teeth chattered. "What are you learning today, small one?" Oz asked. Peter could not speak. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Commander stepped forward with disgust on her face. "Answer the Warlord creature." "History," Peter managed to whisper. "We were learning history." "And what does your history teach you?" Peter looked at Mr. Brooks desperately. The teacher gave a tiny nod. "That humans were weak," Peter recited from memory. "That we invited conquest through our failures. That the Empire saved us from ourselves." Oz made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Good. You learn your lessons well." He turned to address the entire class. "But I wonder if humans truly understand what weakness means. I wonder if you comprehend the difference between those who conquer and those who are conquered." He walked to the front of the classroom and faced the students. "I will conduct a test. One student from this room will face a challenge. This will demonstrate to the Empire whether humans have any value beyond simple labor." Nobody moved, nobody breathed. "If no one volunteers," Oz continued, "then every student in this classroom will be sent to the mining camps on Mars. The choice is yours." Mr. Brooks fell to his knees. "Please, Great Warlord, they are only children. Surely there is another way." Commander kicked him aside like garbage. "Silence, human. The Warlord has spoken." Seconds passed. The clock on the wall ticked loudly in the quiet room. Danny's hand found Lily's arm under the desk. His grip was desperate and pleading. She knew what he was thinking. Stay down, stay quiet, stay alive. Lily thought about her parents. They had been resistance fighters, brave and strong and full of hope that humanity could be free again. They had executed them 2 years ago in a public square. Lily had been forced to watch. She was 15 then. She had not cried. She had not screamed. She had simply watched and remembered and promised herself that their courage would not die with them. She stood up. The movement was so sudden that Danny nearly fell out of his chair trying to pull her back down. Every eye in the room turned to her. Commander tilted her head with mild curiosity. Oz studied her with an expression Lily could not read. "I volunteer," Lily said. Her voice was steady and clear. Oz walked toward her slowly. He stopped close enough that she could smell the strange metallic scent of his skin. Up close, he was even more terrifying. His shadow swallowed her completely. "You are small," he observed. "Even for a human female. You understand this test may cost you your life." "I understand." "And yet you volunteer. Why?" Lily met his eyes without flinching. "Because someone had to." Something flickered across Os's face. It passed too quickly for her to identify. He turned to Commander. "Interesting. Perhaps there is more to humans than we assumed." He addressed Lily again. "The test is combat. You will face one of my warriors in the arena. No weapons. No rules except that the fight ends when one combatant surrenders or dies." Danny made a choked sound of horror. Lily ignored him. "Which warrior?" she asked. Os seemed amused by the question. "I will select one appropriate to your size. Perhaps a young cadet who needs practice." "No." The single word hung in the air like a challenge. Even Commander's eyes widened slightly. "No," Os repeated slowly. "You refuse the terms." "I refuse an easy opponent," Lily said. "If I am going to fight, I want to fight your strongest. I want General the Unbroken." The classroom erupted in whispers. General was legendary even among the. He had killed over 10,000 enemies in single combat. He had never lost. He had never shown mercy. Commander laughed out loud. "The child has lost her mind." But Os did not laugh. He stared at Lily with something new in his eyes, something that looked almost like respect. "You request certain death," he said. "Why?" "If I am going to die," Lily answered, "I want it to mean something. I want every human watching to see what courage looks like, even when it is hopeless, especially when it is hopeless." For a long moment, Os was silent. Then he nodded slowly. "Very well, small one, you will have your wish. In 3 days you will face General in the grand arena. The entire planet will watch." He leaned closer, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "I hope you do not disappoint me." He turned and walked out of the classroom. His soldiers followed. Commander gave Lily one last look of contemptuous amusement before leaving. The room remained frozen for several seconds after they left. Then Danny grabbed Lily's shoulders and shook her. "What did you do?" he demanded, tears streaming down his face. "Lily, what did you do?" She did not answer. She simply looked out the window at the gray sky and thought about her parents. In 3 days, she would either make them proud or join them in death. Either way, she would not be afraid. The news spread across New Chicago like wildfire. By sunset, every human in the district knew the story. A 17-year-old girl had stood up to a warlord. She had demanded to fight their greatest warrior. People spoke her name in whispers. Lily Morgan. Some called her brave. Others called her foolish. Most simply called her dead. Lily walked home through streets of broken concrete and gray buildings. Humans stepped aside when they saw her, their eyes wide with something between fear and wonder. She ignored them all. Her mind was already working on the problem ahead. 3 days. She had 3 days to prepare for a fight she could not win. Her apartment building had once been a nice place to live. Now the walls were cracked and the elevator had not worked in years. Lily climbed 6 floors of dark stairs and pushed open the door to find her grandmother waiting. Helen Morgan was 73 years old with white hair and hands that shook slightly when she was upset. Right now, she was very upset. "I heard what you did," Helen said. Her voice trembled with anger and fear. "The entire district is talking about it. Lily, how could you be so stupid?" Lily closed the door behind her. "I did not have a choice, Grandma. If no one volunteered, they were going to send my whole class to Mars. Those are the mining camps. Nobody survives the mining camps." "So you sacrifice yourself instead." Helen grabbed her granddaughter's hands. "I already lost your mother and father. I cannot lose you too. You are all I have left." Lily looked into her grandmother's eyes. There was something she had never told anyone, a secret she had carried for years. But now, with death 3 days away, secrets seemed pointless. Mom and Dad did not just fight in the resistance, Lily said quietly. They trained me. Every night for 6 years they taught me how to fight, hand-to-hand combat, pressure points, how to battle enemies bigger and stronger than me. They knew this day might come. Helen sat down heavily on their worn couch. Her face showed confusion and disbelief. They never told me, she whispered. They wanted to protect you. They knew if they ever questioned you, you could not reveal what you did not know. Lily knelt before her grandmother and took her hands again. I am not going into that arena blind, Grandma. I have a chance. A chance against General Lily. He has killed 10,000 enemies. He is not even the same species as you. He has 4 arms. He weighs 1,000 pounds. How can you possibly have a chance? Lily had no good answer to that question. She kissed her grandmother's forehead and went to her tiny bedroom to think. The next morning, Danny came to visit. He brought food from his family's small store, bread and dried fruit and cheese. He placed them on the table but did not eat. His eyes were red from crying. You have to run, he said. I have been asking around. There are people who can smuggle you out of the city. You could hide in the wilderness zones where they do not patrol. And what happens to my classmates when I run? Danny looked away. They both knew the answer. There has to be another way, he insisted. There is not. Lily sat across from him and forced herself to eat. She would need her strength. I made my choice, Danny. I need you to accept it. I cannot watch you die. Then do not watch, but I am going into that arena. That afternoon, a stranger came to Lily's apartment. He was a middle-aged man with gray in his hair and scars on his hands. He introduced himself as George Palmer, and he said he had known Lily's father. Morgan was the bravest man I ever met, George said. They sat in the small kitchen while Helen made tea with shaking hands. When they came, he did not run. He organized resistance cells across 3 districts. He saved hundreds of lives before they caught him. I remember, Lily said. I remember everything about my parents. George studied her with careful eyes. The resistance still exists. We are smaller now, more careful, but we have resources. We can get you out of the city tonight. I am not leaving. Your father would not want you to die for nothing. Lily felt a flash of anger but kept her voice calm. My father taught me that some things are worth dying for. He taught me that one act of courage can inspire thousands. If I run, I prove the right. I prove that humans are weak and afraid. But if I fight, even if I lose, every human on this planet will see that we can still stand up. George was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. You really are our daughter, he said. What do you need from us? Information, everything you know about biology, weak points, vulnerabilities, anything that might help. George promised to return that night with everything the resistance had collected over 3 years of fighting. As evening fell, a transport landed outside Lily's building. 2 soldiers escorted her to see Warlord Os. She expected to be taken to a military base. Instead, she was brought to what had once been the Chicago Art Institute, now converted into a command center. Os waited for her in a room filled with paintings from Earth's history. He stood before a large canvas showing an ancient battle scene, human soldiers fighting against impossible odds. You confuse me, small one, he said without turning around. I have conquered 12 species. I know how beings respond to power. They submit, they obey, they break. He finally looked at her. But you did not break. Humans are different, Lily said. So I am learning. He walked toward her slowly. I have watched recordings of your moment in the classroom. I have studied your face, your posture, your eyes. When you stood up, when you demanded my strongest fighter, your body showed no fear response. Your heart rate did not increase. Your hands did not tremble. How is this possible? Lily considered lying, but something told her that Os would know. My parents taught me that fear is a choice. You can feel it or you can let it go. I choose to let it go. Your parents, the resistance fighters, Oz tilted his head. We executed them, you were forced to watch, and still you feel no hatred for me. Hatred is also a choice. I choose to focus on what matters. And what matters to you? Showing my people that we are more than slaves, more than labor, more than you think we are. Oz studied her for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. General arrives tomorrow. He has seen footage of you. He dismissed you as an insect not worth his time. A strange expression crossed the warlord's face. But I have fought beside for 200 years. I have seen him face enemies that would terrify most species, and I have never seen him hesitate, never seen him doubt. He leaned closer to Lily. When he watches your recording, something changes in his eyes, just for a moment. He sees something in you that he does not understand, and what does not understand fears. Oz straightened up. You may not survive the arena, small one, but I suspect you will leave a mark on my general that never heals. He waved his hand, and the soldiers escorted Lily out. That night she did not sleep. She practiced in her small bedroom, moving through combinations her parents had taught her. Strike, move, breathe, strike again. In 2 days, she would face a monster, and she would show him exactly what humans were made of. The grand arena of New Chicago rose from the ruins of the old stadium like a monument to conquest. They had built it in the first year of occupation, a massive structure of dark metal and glowing energy shields that could seat 200,000 spectators. Today, every seat was filled. Humans had been ordered to attend. Soldiers went door to door, forcing families from their homes and marching them to the arena. They wanted every human to watch what happened to those who challenged their power. They wanted to break whatever hope remained. But something unexpected happened on the way to the arena. Humans began to chant. It started as a whisper. A single name passed from mouth to mouth. Lily, Lily Morgan. Soon the whisper became a murmur, and the murmur became a sound that rolled through the streets like distant thunder. The soldiers did not understand. They pointed their weapons at the crowds, but the chanting did not stop. It only grew louder. Deep beneath the arena floor, Lily sat in a small stone chamber. The walls were cold and damp. A single light flickered overhead. She wore simple clothes, a gray shirt and black pants and thin shoes that would allow her to move quickly. Her grandmother sat beside her, wrapping cloth around Lily's hands and wrists. Your mother used to do this for your father, Helen said quietly. Her voice was steady now, her tears dried. Before every mission, she would wrap his hands and tell him to come home safe. And did he? Always until the last time. Helen finished the wrapping and held Lily's hands in her own. You come home to me, child. You promise me. I promise to try. Danny stood by the door, keeping watch. His face was pale but determined. He had stopped trying to convince Lily to run. Now he simply wanted to support her however he could. The crowd is huge, he reported. I have never seen so many humans in one place. They are chanting your name, Lily, all of them. Lily closed her eyes and listened. Through the thick stone walls she could hear it. Her name, spoken by thousands and thousands of voices. It should have made her afraid. Instead, it filled her with something warm and strong. My parents told me something once, she said. They said that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is being afraid and standing up anyway. They said that one person standing up can give others the strength to stand. They were right, Danny said. Whatever happens today, you have already won something. You have reminded us who we are. The door opened and 2 soldiers entered. They gestured for Lily to follow. She hugged her grandmother one last time, squeezed Danny's shoulder and walked out. The tunnel to the arena floor was long and dark. Lily's footsteps echoed against the walls. At the end, she could see bright light and hear the roar of the crowd. Her heart beat faster, but she controlled her breathing just as her mother had taught her. George Palmer appeared from a side passage. He pressed a small blade into her hand. Hide it, he whispered. Use it if you must." Lily looked at the blade for a moment. Then she handed it back. "I will win as a human or not at all," she said. "No weapons, no tricks, just me." George looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her eyes stopped him. He stepped aside and let her pass. Lily walked into the light. The arena floor was a circle of packed dirt and sand, 300 feet across. Energy shields surrounded it, preventing escape and protecting the audience from stray attacks. The stands rose high on all sides, filled with gray-skinned in the upper sections and humans packed into the lower seats. When the humans saw her, the chanting exploded into cheering. They screamed her name and stamped their feet and clapped their hands. The sound was overwhelming, a wave of noise that crashed against her from every direction. They laughed and jeered from their seats above. Some threw objects toward the arena floor, though the energy shields vaporized everything before it could reach the ground. They looked at Lily the way a cat looks at a mouse, with hungry amusement. Warlord Os sat in the royal box at the center of the arena. Commander stood beside him, looking bored. Other high-ranking officials filled the surrounding seats. A booming voice announced the rules of combat. No weapons, no time limit. The fight would end when one combatant surrendered or died. The crowd fell silent. Then the opposite gate opened, and General entered. Lily had thought she was prepared. She had studied images and videos. She knew his size and strength, but seeing him in person was something entirely different. General stood 9 feet tall. His body was a mountain of muscle and armor-like skin covered in countless scars. Each of his 4 arms was thicker than Lily's entire body. His eyes glowed with a dull red light, and his face showed no expression except cold anticipation. The ground shook with each step he took. Humans in the crowd began to weep. Children hid their faces against their parents. Even some of the soldiers shifted nervously. Stopped in the center of the arena and looked at Lily. He did not speak. He did not need to. His presence said everything. "You are nothing, you are prey. You are already dead." Lily walked to meet him. With each step she felt smaller. When she finally stopped, standing in his shadow, she was reminded of an ant facing an elephant. The comparison was not comforting. Finally spoke. His voice was like grinding stone. "I have killed 10,000 enemies," he said. "Warriors, soldiers, champions from a dozen worlds. They begged for mercy before they died." He leaned down until his face was close to hers. "Will you beg, little human?" Lily looked up at him without flinching. "No," she said simply. In the royal box, Os leaned forward. His eyes were fixed on Lily with an intensity that made Commander uneasy. "What do you see in this creature?" asked. Os did not answer immediately. When he did, his voice was thoughtful. "I have seen many beings face death," he said. "I have seen courage and fear and everything between, but I have only seen that look in one other pair of eyes." "Whose?" "My father's, on the day before his final battle." Os's hands tightened on the arms of his chair. He knew he would die. He accepted it completely, and that acceptance freed him from all fear. It made him the most dangerous enemy I have ever faced. Looked down at the tiny human girl, standing before the massive general. "She cannot actually hurt," she said with confidence. Os did not respond. He simply watched. The signal horn sounded across the arena. The fight had begun. General raised all 4 arms and charged forward with a roar that shook the very air. The ground trembled beneath his feet. He was death itself coming for Lily Morgan. She did not run, she did not freeze, she did not scream. She moved toward him. And in that moment, every human watching held their breath, and every stopped laughing, because something was happening that none of them had ever seen before. A 17-year-old girl was running straight at the most dangerous warrior in the galaxy, and she was not afraid. His first strike could have crushed a tank. His massive fist came down like a hammer from the sky, aimed directly at Lily's head. The impact would have turned her body into a red stain on the arena floor. But Lily was not there. She had moved at the last possible second, diving to her left and rolling under his arm. The crowd gasped as fists slammed into the ground where she had been standing, creating a crater 2 feet deep. Before he could recover, Lily was already attacking. She remembered what George Palmer had told her the night before, information the Resistance had gathered over years of fighting, had weak points despite their armored skin. Behind the knee was a cluster of nerves that most did not even know about. Her elbow drove into that exact spot with all her strength. Stumbled. The arena fell completely silent. In 10,000 fights, General had never stumbled. He had taken blows from creatures 5 times his size without moving. He had been shot, stabbed, burned, and frozen. He had never stumbled. Until now. A single human girl had made him lose his balance. Turned with murder in his eyes. He swung 2 of his arms in a wide arc, trying to catch Lily in a grip she could not escape. But she was already moving, dancing backward and to the side, staying just out of reach. "Stand still," roared. His voice echoed off the arena walls. "Face your death with dignity." Lily did not answer. She was saving her breath for what mattered. Attacked again and again. His fists crashed into the ground. His arms swept through the air. Each strike was powerful enough to kill her 100 times over, but Lily was faster than anything he had ever fought. She was small, which meant she was quick. She was human, which meant she was creative. She had trained her entire life for this moment. She struck whenever she could. Her fists and elbows and knees found the soft spots that her parents had taught her. The gap beneath his arms where the skin was thinner. The base of his neck where muscles connected to bone. The inside of his elbow where blood vessels ran close to the surface. Each blow was like a mosquito bite too, but mosquito bites added up. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 20. The crowd had stopped laughing. They watched in growing disbelief as this tiny creature refused to die. Some began to shift uncomfortably in their seats. This was not what they had come to see. The humans watched with tears streaming down their faces. They clutched each other's hands. They whispered prayers to gods they had almost forgotten, and they began to hope. In the royal box, Commander was on her feet. "How is this possible?" she demanded. "She should be dead. She should have been dead in the first second." Warlord Os did not answer. His eyes never left the arena floor. He was seeing something he had never expected to see. General the Unbroken beginning to tire. 30 minutes passed, then 45. Lily was bleeding from a dozen wounds, had caught her with glancing blows that would have killed a normal human instantly. Her left arm hung at an odd angle where his fist had grazed her shoulder. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. Every breath was painful. But she kept moving, she kept striking, she kept fighting. Was breathing heavily now. Sweat dripped from his armored skin. His attacks were slower, less precise. He had never fought for this long before. His opponents always died quickly. His body was not trained for endurance. But more than his body, his mind was failing him. Had always known exactly what he was and what his enemies were. He was the predator. They were the prey. The result was inevitable. Now he faced an enemy who would not accept that truth, and it was breaking something inside him. "What are you?" he demanded, pausing to catch his breath. "You are nothing. You are an insect. Why do you not die?" Lily wiped blood from her eyes and smiled. "Because I choose not to," she said. Screamed with rage and charged at her with all 4 arms spread wide. This time, there was no room to dodge. His massive body filled her entire field of vision. His arms closed around her like a cage. He caught her. His grip tightened around her body. Bones creaked under the pressure. Lily felt her ribs bending, ready to snap. The air was crushed from her lungs. Dark spots swam in her vision. "Now you die," growled, bringing her close to his face. Slowly, painfully, so all your people can see what happens to those who challenge the. Lily could not breathe, could not move, could barely think. But she could still see. And what she saw was the nerve cluster her mother had told her about, located just below the jawline. A strike there would cause overwhelming pain, enough to make even a general lose his grip. She had one chance, one strike with her remaining good arm. She took it. Her fist connected perfectly. Eyes went wide with shock and agony. His arms spasmed open and Lily fell to the ground, gasping for air. The crowd erupted. Humans screamed and cheered and cried, shouted in disbelief. The noise was deafening. Staggered backward, clutching his jaw. When his vision cleared, he saw something impossible. The tiny human was getting back up. Her body was broken. Anyone could see that. She could barely stand. Blood dripped from her wounds and pooled on the arena floor. By all logic, by all reason, she should stay down. But she did not stay down. Lily Morgan rose to her feet, swayed slightly, and raised her fists. "Again," she said through bloody lips, "come at me again." Did not move. For the first time in his 200 years of war, General the Unbroken hesitated. He looked at this creature before him, this human girl who should have been nothing, and felt something cold spreading through his chest. It took him a long moment to recognize the feeling. Fear. "Why do you not stay down?" he asked. His voice was quieter now, confused. "You cannot win. You must know you cannot win. Why do you keep standing?" Lily looked at him with eyes that held no hatred, no anger, no fear. Only a calm and absolute certainty. "Because humans do not quit," she said. "We get knocked down, we get broken, we get beaten and burned and conquered, but we do not quit, we get back up, again and again and again, until we win or until we die. That is what we are, that is what you never understood about us." She spat blood onto the ground and straightened her spine. "So you can kill me, but you cannot break me. And everyone watching will know that one human girl stood against your greatest warrior and never surrendered. That story will spread. It will grow. And one day it will bring your whole empire crashing down." In the royal box, Warlord As slowly rose to his feet. His face showed an expression that none of his officers had ever seen before. Wonder. General stood frozen in the center of the arena. He stared at the broken girl before him, and for the first time in his life, he did not know what to do. He had faced monsters that could swallow ships whole. He had fought armies alone. He had never felt this way before. He did not feel like a predator anymore. He felt like something was hunting him. And that something was standing right in front of him, 5 feet tall and bleeding from a dozen wounds, refusing to fall. The arena was silent. 200,000 beings held their breath as General and Lily Morgan faced each other across the blood-stained ground. The fight had lasted over an hour. Both combatants were exhausted, but only one of them was afraid. Attacked, but his movements had changed. They were slower, less certain. Doubt had crept into muscles that had never known hesitation. His fists swung through empty air as Lily moved between them. She was running on pure will now. Her body had passed the limits of human endurance long ago. Every movement sent waves of pain through her broken ribs. Her vision blurred and cleared and blurred again. But her spirit remained unbroken, and that spirit drove her forward. Lily remembered something her father had taught her in their final training session. He had designed a combination specifically for fighting four-armed opponents. It required sacrifice, it required courage, and it required absolute commitment. "Sometimes," her father had said, "you have to give up something to gain everything." She made her choice. Lunged forward with 2 of his right arms. Lily did not dodge. Instead, she moved into the attack, letting his massive hands close around her left arm. Bones snapped. The pain was beyond anything she had ever experienced, but she used the momentum of his grip to launch herself upward. Her body climbed his arm like a ladder. Her legs wrapped around his neck. And before he could react, she drove her elbow into his throat with every ounce of strength she had left. The strike was precise and devastating. Lily's parents had taught her exactly where the windpipe was located and exactly how much force was needed to crush it. She gave everything she had. General's eyes went wide. A terrible sound escaped his ruined throat. His hands released her and flew to his neck, grasping at the damage. He staggered backward, gasping for air that would not come. Then he fell to his knees. The arena exploded with noise. Humans screamed and wept and embraced each other. They chanted Lily's name so loud that the stadium shook. Soldiers looked at each other in confusion and fear. Their greatest warrior was kneeling before a human child. Lily landed hard on the ground and struggled to rise. Her left arm was destroyed, hanging useless at her side. Blood covered her face and body. She could barely see through the pain. But she stood, looked up at her from his knees. His breath came in wet, ragged gasps. His eyes, which had shown nothing but cold death for 200 years, now showed something different. Respect. Slowly, with tremendous effort, raised his right hand and placed his palm flat against the ground. The gesture of surrender. Complete silence fell over the arena. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The meaning of what had just happened was too enormous to process. General the Unbroken had surrendered, to a human, to a 17-year-old girl. In the royal box, Warlord Os rose from his seat. He looked at Commander and the other officers around him. Their faces showed shock, disbelief, and something that looked almost like fear. "Stay here," Os commanded. He walked to the stairs that led down to the arena floor. The crowd parted as the warlord made his way to the center of the arena. Soldiers saluted, but he ignored them. His attention was focused entirely on the small figure standing before his fallen general. Lily watched him approach. She had nothing left, no strength to fight, no energy to run. If Os wanted to kill her, she could not stop him. But she would not look away. She would face her death as she had faced everything else, with her eyes open and her spirit unbowed. Os stopped before her. He was silent for a long moment, studying her with an expression she could not read. Then he did something that shocked everyone in the arena. He knelt. The warlord of 12 conquered worlds, the greatest military commander in the history of the Empire, knelt before a human girl. "I have lived for 400 years, Os said, his voice loud enough for all to hear. "I have conquered civilizations. I have ruled with absolute power. I believed that strength was the only thing that mattered." He looked up at Lily. "I was wrong." A murmur spread through the crowd. Officers moved nervously, not knowing what to do. Nothing in their training had prepared them for this moment. "This human has taught me something I never understood," Os continued. "Conquest means nothing if the spirit remains unbroken. We can take your planet. We can destroy your cities. We can force you to serve us. But we cannot touch what makes you human. We cannot defeat your will." He rose to his feet and turned to address the entire arena. "I hereby declare Earth free from subjugation, not because humans have defeated us in war, but because the Empire has finally learned something valuable. Some species are not meant to be ruled. Some spirits are not meant to be conquered." The human crowd erupted in joy. People fell to their knees, crying with happiness. They shouted and sang and held each other. 3 years of fear and pain and hopelessness melted away in a single moment of impossible victory. Commander rushed down from the royal box, her face twisted with anger. "My lord, you cannot do this. The council will never accept it. This violates every law of the Empire." Os looked at her calmly. "Then let the council come for me. Let them see what I have seen today. Let them face what I have faced." He gestured toward Lily. "This child has done more than defeat. She has shown the galaxy what humans truly are. That story will spread to every conquered world. It will inspire every slave, every prisoner, every being who dreams of freedom." He turned back to the crowd. "The Empire has stood for 10,000 years. Today it begins to change. Not through war, but through understanding. Not through force, but through respect." Lily felt her legs finally give out. She would have fallen if not for the strong hands that caught her. Danny and Helen had somehow made it onto the arena floor. They held her up, tears streaming down their faces. "You did it," Danny whispered. "Lily, you actually did it." "No," she said weakly. "We did it, all of us, everyone who refused to give up." Medical teams rushed to treat her injuries. As they carried her away, she saw George Palmer standing at the edge of the crowd. He saluted her, tears in his eyes. Behind him, she could see humans celebrating in the streets beyond the arena. Years later, Ambassador Lily Morgan stood before the Galactic Council as Earth's representative. Her left arm was cybernetic now, a reminder of the price she had paid. Scars marked her face and body, but her eyes were the same as they had always been, calm and strong and unafraid. An elderly Oss sat beside her, now an advocate for peaceful coexistence between species. The Empire had transformed since that day in the arena. Other conquered worlds had risen up, inspired by the story of a human girl who refused to surrender. The old ways were dying, replaced by something new and better. A delegate from a newly freed world approached the podium. "Ambassador Morgan," she said, "the people of my planet wish to know, how did humanity achieve its freedom? How did one girl change the course of history?" Lily thought about her parents, about Helen and Danny, about all the humans who had watched that day and found hope when they had none. Then she gave the same answer she had given in the arena, the words that had echoed across the stars and started a revolution. "Humans do not quit," she said. "We get knocked down, we get broken, we get beaten and conquered, but we do not quit, we get back up, again and again and again." She looked at us, who nodded with something like pride. "That is what we are. That is what we will always be, and that is why in the end we always win." The council chamber erupted in applause, but Lily barely heard it. She was thinking about a classroom, and a test, and a choice she had made when she was 17 years old. The choice to stand up. The choice that changed everything.